Hello everyone, this is a video response to videos by Kazoom and Robert Wallace, wherein they think that atheists need to wake up. And I agree with the sentiment that atheists are losing ground in every measurable way politically because of infighting, because they are divided. And it is the injection of the narrative of shitlords versus SJWs that is to blame recently, right? And I've seen this happen before to other movements, and I have called it out when it happened. And I've also compared that to atheism before on my channel, where the Occupy movement started out about just Occupy Wall Street and just about the derivatives that were based on home mortgages being bundled and then it's sold off to different banks, and it got to the point where you could ask someone on the street who called themselves an occupier in, say, Oakland or Denver or San Francisco. When it got to the other side of the country, it was like a game of Chinese whispers, a game of telephone where nobody remembered the word derivative at all had ever happened. What is a derivative? This is a movement about social justice, and it's all inclusive, and everybody who comes to our General Assembly has a voice, and we're going to listen to their concerns too. And so you got people who are occupying in Charlotte, North Carolina, fighting against coal-burning power plants, and then you've got Occupy Tokyo, who just had the Fukushima disaster. They're occupying against nuclear power, and these two groups are basically politically opposed, but still under the Occupy tent, and they're ideologically just fighting each other from around the world. Banging around on their keyboards at night after their general assemblies. You've got people in Denver that I filmed blocking Walmarts because they are anti-union, and they would protest the distribution centers and protest at the Walmarts about how Walmart workers aren't paid enough, and so they are a drain on public services and welfare. And then you've got Occupy Oakland, who were trying to just flex their muscles, and they decided to occupy the port, which was full of Union longshoremen. It's one of the last Union bastions left is, those ports, where pretty much every job was a Union job. And they just wanted to flex their muscles and show that they had power, So they blocked the port. To get their concerns listened to. What were they actually blocking it for? Who the fuck knows? But you've got these different interests all trying to come up under the same umbrella. And what happens is, much like a Venn diagram, every time you add a new issue to the pie, just split that pie in half, right? And so you get left with, half becomes a quarter, becomes an eighth, becomes a 16th, and all of a sudden you got people who agree with everything that your group is about that comprise of just a sliver of who could actually get on board with the topic. Banks being the reason for the economic collapse of 2008 because of derivatives in the home mortgage market was the reason for Occupy Wall Street, right? Everything else that got added to it because they made this leaderless movement that should represent everybody's fucking interests, right? Where you had Occupy the Bible, you had Occupy ice cream, you had Occupy Jupiter, Anything and everything could have an Occupy about it, especially Facebook pages, dedicated to that subject. Could be called Occupy whatever, Occupy Congress, Occupy LGBT rights. Everything under the sun could be occupied, right? And that's where their downfall was. So when I hear from Robert Wallace and Kazoom that it's the infighting that is the problem, I do agree that that is the problem. It's the solution that I'm not so sure of. And that is, should all atheists under this umbrella just come together and say, well, if you're an atheist, that's the only thing we need to know about you in order to get along. I do agree that maybe we need to add some issues to the agenda, right? Maybe. But we would be incredibly stronger if we just came together. Just, if you're an atheist, you're with us. And we're going to fight everything that is irrationally based on the word of some god. Every decision in Congress that it has at its core, the reasoning is because someone's God said so. We're going to fight it. Right? That's what would make us the strongest. And in our heyday here on YouTube, that's when the atheist community was the strongest. Right? Then we started adding other issues to the agenda. Everything from intactivism. That's the belief that no male should be circumcised. Females too, but it's mostly a men's rights movement. To social justice everything. To microaggressions. To just the things that we talk about now as atheists have gotten as far as the amazing atheist making at least a dozen videos about Justin Bieber, and that might just be because he is branching out into being just a notable person who, if anything happens in the world ever, anywhere, somebody wants to know his opinion on it. And there's a lot of YouTubers that are like this, that anything that trends on Facebook or on the sidebar, or trends on Twitter, or it's in the Google top 10 or on Yahoo, they need to make a video about it because they have never made a video about that subject and now it's trending, and we need to stay ahead of the game to amass subscribers and views, and then one day we won't have to work and we'll just be able to spout our own bullshit in order to make money. Yay! Right? Can I get a testify? Anyways. I think that if we're going to take this wake up seriously from Kazoom and from Robert Wallace, we need to go back to our core issue of, if it's magical, then we oppose it. Simple as that. The enemy, the Christian dominionists who are winning every fight that they had been losing for decades, the enemy have their 7 mountains mandate, right? That's what the dominionists have. But you can really simplify everything that they're doing down to, because our God said so. So, if we're going to oppose them and defeat them, we need to be all about, we're not doing anything because your God said so. We're only doing things that make sense for us to do. That's the one point that we need to center around. And if it happens that we're going to be helping out the LGBT community, if it happens that we're going to be helping out women, if it happens that we're going to be helping out third world country impoverished people, so be it, right? But if we're going to be politically a force again, we need to be focused on, not because their God said so, because it makes sense, is the only reason we're going to support something. Thanks for listening. Links in the description box to the inspiration for this ramble.